Janmaushadhi-mantra-tapassamadhijaha siddhayaha. This sutra tells us that special powers or abilities called Siddhis can come in different ways. Some people are born with them, while others gain them through the use of herbs, chanting powerful words, or practicing deep self-discipline. The highest form of Siddhi comes from reaching a state of deep meditation called Samadhi. In short, these powers are the result of both external and internal practices, but reaching Samadhi is considered the purest path. Jatyantara parinamah prakritya purat. This sutra explains that changes in life forms, like going from one type of being to another, happen because of nature's inner potential. Everything in nature has the ability to transform or evolve. These changes don't come from external actions alone, but from the natural flow of life's inner power. In short, natural evolution and transformation are part of the universe's potential, leading to changes in species and forms. Nimittam-aprayojakam prakritinam varnabhedastu tatakshetrikavat. This sutra explains that external causes or nimitta don't create changes by themselves. Instead, they simply remove obstacles, allowing nature, the Prakriti, to flow and bring about change. It's like how a farmer kshetrika doesn't make the water flow but clears the path so the water can flow freely through a field. In short, changes happen naturally when obstacles are removed, much like how water flows once a farmer clears the way. External causes only help the process, not create it directly. Nirmana chittanyasmita matrat. This sutra explains that multiple minds or personalities can be created from a strong sense of ego. When someone identifies too much with their ego, it can give rise to different versions of their mind, each shaped by their sense of I or self. These created minds are not independent but are formed from the same source. In short, different minds can arise from a strong ego, but they all come from the same core sense of I. It's the ego that creates multiple versions of our thoughts and identities. Pravritti bhede prayojakam chittamekamane. This sutra explains that a single mind can be the driving force behind many different activities. Even though various actions may seem different, they are all guided by the same central mind. It's like how one director can control multiple tasks happening at the same time. In short, though we may perform many different actions, they are all driven by the same mind, acting as a guide and coordinator for various activities. Tatra dhyanajamanaashayam. This sutra says that when the mind is created through deep meditation, it becomes free from past impressions or karma. Other minds may carry the effects of past actions, but the one formed through meditation is pure and not influenced by past memories or habits. It is clear and free from any attachments. In short, a mind developed through meditation is pure and free from the influence of past experiences or karmic impressions, making it more peaceful and focused. Karma Shukla Krishnam Yoginastri-vidhamiteresham. This sutra explains that for yogis, their actions are neither good nor bad. They act with detachment, free from the effects of karma. However, for ordinary people, actions are divided into three types: good, bad, and mixed. These actions create consequences for non-yogis based on their nature. In short, yogis act without attachment, so their actions don't have good or bad consequences, unlike others, whose actions are classified into three types, each bringing different results. Tatastadvipakanugunanamevabhivyaktir vasananam. This sutra explains that our stored impressions manifest based on the results of past actions. As our actions ripen and produce results, the corresponding tendencies and habits are brought to the surface. Only the impressions related to these ripened results will become active in our lives, shaping how we think and act. In short, the habits and tendencies we experience are a result of past actions, and they come to the life only when the time is right, based on the consequences of those actions. जातिदेशकालव्यवहितानामप्यानन्तर्यं स्मृतिसंस्कारयोर एकरूपत्वात्. This sutra says that the memories and impressions persist across lifetimes, places, and periods. Even if these factors change, the connection between memory and past impressions remain because they share the same essence. This explains why certain patterns or tendencies can follow someone across different experiences, even through different lives. In short, memories and past impressions continue, regardless of changes in birth, location, or time, because they are deeply connected and share a similar nature. Tasamanaditvam chashisho nityatvat. This sutra explains that the impressions stored in our minds have no specific beginning. This is because the fundamental desire for life, existence, and experience has always been present and is eternal. As long as the desire to live and experience continues, the impressions tied to it also continue, without a clear start. In short, our mental impressions have existed forever, driven by the eternal desire for life and experience. This cycle has no beginning, as the urge to live and grow is timeless. हेतुफलाश्रयालम्भनैः सङ्गृहीति तत्त्वादेशामभावे tadbhavah. This sutra explains that impressions continue to exist because they are sustained by four factors: causes, the results they bring, their basis, and the environment or support. If any of these sustaining factors are removed, the impressions will no longer exist. In other words, without the right conditions, impressions cannot continue. In short, impressions are maintained by causes, results, and the right conditions. When these factors are no longer present, the impressions also vanish. Atitanagatam swarupatostyadvavedat dharmanam. This sutra explains that the past and future are real because they exist in their true essence, even though we may not perceive them directly. The changes we experience over time are due to the variations in the qualities or states that evolve along different paths. These qualities shape our experience of time, but the essence remains constant. In short, the past and future exist in their own true form. Changes we see over time come from the way qualities shift and follow different paths, though their essence remains unchanged. Te vyakta sukshma gunatmanaha. This sutra explains that the past and future can be either visible and clear or hidden and subtle. This depends on the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Depending on the influence of these qualities, certain aspects of reality become apparent, while others remain unseen or subtle. In short, the past and future can be clear or hidden depending on how the natural abilities are at play. These qualities determine what is visible and what remains subtle. Parinamaikatvad vastu tattvam. This sutra explains that the true nature of an object is determined by its consistent and unified transformation. Though an object may change over time, its essence remains constant throughout these changes. The singularity in the process of change is what defines the reality and the truth of the object. In short, the true nature of any object remains the same, even as it undergoes different changes. Its consistent transformation shows its reality. Vastu samye chitta bhedattayor vibhaktah panthaha. This sutra explains that even when an object is the same, it is perceived differently by different minds. Each person has a unique mental filter based on their experiences, beliefs, and thoughts, which causes them to view the same object in distinct ways. The object's reality remains the same, but the paths of perception differ due to variations in the mind. In short, while the object is the same, different minds perceive it in their own unique way, showing that perception varies from person to person based on their mental state. Nachaikachittatantram vastu tada pramanakam tada kim syat. This sutra explains that the existence of an object is not dependent on just one's mind's perception. The object remains real even if a particular mind does not perceive it. Reality is not controlled by individual perception. Just because one mind doesn't recognize something, it doesn't cease to exist. In short, objects exist independently of individual perception. If one person doesn't see it, the object still remains real, proving that reality isn't shaped by a single mind's view. तदुपरागापेक्षित्वा चित्तस्य वस्तु ज्ञाताज्ञातम्. This sutra explains that the mind perceives an object based on how it is influenced or colored by that object. If the mind is focused and receptive, the object becomes known. If the mind is distracted or not tuned to the object, it remains unknown. Perception depends on the interaction between the mind and the object. In short, whether an object is known or unknown depends on how the mind is affected by it. If the mind is focused, the object becomes clear. If not, it remains hidden. Sada ज्ञाताश्चित्तवृत्तयस्तत् प्रभोः पुरुषस्य परिणामित्वात्. This sutra explains that the fluctuations of the mind are always known to the Purusha, the true self or consciousness. Unlike the mind, which constantly changes, the Purusha is unchanging. Since the Purusha is constant and unaffected, it can always observe and be aware of the mind's activities. In short, the true self or Purusha always knows the mind's activities because, unlike the mind, it never changes. The Purusha acts as a steady observer of the mind's fluctuations. न तत्स्वाभासं दृश्यत्वात्. This sutra explains that the mind cannot perceive itself. Like other objects, it is something that can be observed, but it cannot be both the observer and the observed at the same time. The mind needs an external source of awareness, which is the Purusha, to be understood. Since the mind is an object, it depends on the unchanging Purusha to illuminate it. In short, the mind cannot know itself because it is an object of observation. It requires the true self or the Purusha to be aware of its activities, much like a lamp needs light to be seen. Ekasamaye chobhayanavadharanam. This sutra explains that the mind cannot simultaneously perceive itself and an external object. When the mind is focused on an object, it loses awareness of itself. Similarly, if the mind tries to observe itself, it cannot fully grasp the external object. The mind's attention can only be on one thing at a time, either inward or outward. In short, the mind can't focus on itself and an external object at the same time. It can only be aware of one at any given moment, either looking outward or reflecting inward. Thank you. Chittantara drishye buddhi buddhirati prasangaspriti sankarascha. This sutra explains that if the mind tries to focus on or perceive another mind, it results in confusion and a mix-up of memories. This is because focusing on another mind can blur the clarity of one's own thoughts and experiences, causing a mixture of different memories and mental states. In short, trying to understand or focus on another person's mind can lead to confusion and mix-up of your own memories and thoughts. Chitera pratisankramayastaдаkarapatau swabuddhi samvedanam. This sutra explains that when the mind completely identifies with the object it is focusing on, it reflects that object perfectly. In this state, self-awareness naturally arises because the mind becomes a clear mirror of the object. This state leads to deep understanding without interference from other thoughts. In short, when the mind fully focuses on an object and becomes one with it, true self-awareness emerges, allowing the mind to clearly understand both the object and itself. Drashta drashyoparaktam chittam sarvartham. This sutra explains that the mind is influenced by both the seer and the seen. When the mind is connected to both, it gains the ability to perceive and understand all things. It acts as a bridge between the observer and the observed world, allowing for comprehensive awareness. In short, the mind influenced by both the self and the outside world can understand everything by connecting these two perspectives. Tadasankheya vasanabhischitramapi
parartham sanhatyakaritvat.
This sutra explains that the mind, despite being complex and shaped by innumerable impressions, ultimately functions for the sake of the Purusha. The mind's role is to process and integrate experiences, but its higher purpose is to serve and provide awareness to the Purusha, enabling the self to experience and interact with the world. In short, even though the mind is filled with endless impressions and is complex, its main purpose is to serve the true self, helping it navigate and understand the world.
विशेषदर्शिन आत्मभावभावनाविनिवृत्तिः.
This sutra explains that when a person develops the ability to clearly see the difference between the true self and the mind, they stop identifying with the mind and its fluctuations. This realization leads to the cessation of the ego or the false sense of self. The person becomes free from attachments to the mind's activities and thoughts. In short, when someone truly understands the difference between their mind and the true self, they stop identifying with the mind's activities and experience freedom from the ego.
Tada vivekanimnam kaivalya pragbharam chittam.
This sutra explains that once the mind develops clarity, the ability to distinguish between the true self and the mind's activities, it naturally gravitates towards liberation. The mind becomes focused on the path to ultimate freedom and detachment from worldly illusions. It is inclined towards wisdom and no longer distracted by external influences. In short, when the mind gains clarity and can see the difference between the true self and mental distractions, it starts moving towards liberation and ultimate freedom from illusions.
Tachidreshu pratyayantarani sanskarebhyah.
This sutra explains that even after gaining clarity and moving toward liberation, distractions may still arise in moments when discrimination falters. These discriminations come from past impressions, which are deeply ingrained habits or patterns of thoughts. They fill the gaps where clarity is momentarily lost, pulling the mind back into old patterns. In short, even with a clear mind, old thoughts patterns may sneak in during moments of weakness, caused by deeply embedded past experiences and habits. These past impressions can briefly distract the mind from its path to liberation.
Hanamesham kleshavaduptam.
This sutra explains that the distractions or disturbances that arise due to past impressions are removed in the same way as kleshas. Through consistent practice of awareness, discrimination, and self discipline, one can eliminate these distractions, just like overcoming afflictions that cloud the mind. In short, the way to remove distractions that come from past habits is the same as how we overcome mental afflictions through awareness, focus, and discipline. This clears the path toward mental clarity and freedom.
Prasankhyanepyakusidasya sarvatha vivekakhyaterdharmameghas samadhi.
This sutra describes the highest state of meditation, Dharma Megha Samadhi. It is reached when a person remains undisturbed by anything, even by profound knowledge. At this point, perfect discrimination between the true self and the material world is fully realized. In this state, the mind is completely absorbed in righteousness and all mental afflictions are dissolved. In short, when a person achieves perfect wisdom and is unaffected by worldly or intellectual distractions, they enter Dharma Megha Samadhi, the highest state of meditation, where only pure awareness and truth remain.
Tatha klesha karma nivrittihi.
This sutra explains that once the highest state of meditation is attained, all mental afflictions and the effects of past actions are eliminated. The practitioner becomes free from the cycles of sufferings and the consequences of previous actions. This marks the complete purification of the mind and the end of all attachments. In short, after reaching the highest state of meditation, all mental suffering and the effects of past actions are completely removed, leading to ultimate freedom and peace.
Tadha sarvavarnamalapetasya jnanasyanantyajyeyamalpam.
This sutra explains that once all the impurities and mental obstacles are removed, the mind is completely pure and free. In this state, knowledge becomes boundless, as the mind can fully access all truths. As a result, there is very little left to be known because the person has reached a state of near total understanding of existence. In short, when the mind is free from impurities, knowledge becomes limitless. At this stage, there is very little left to learn, as most of the universe truths are already understood.
ततः कृतार्थानां परिणामक्रमसमाप्तिर्गुणानाम्.
This sutra explains that after reaching the state of ultimate realization, the three fundamental qualities of nature complete their cycle of change. These qualities, which drive all transformations in the material world, no longer affect the individual because their purpose to facilitate growth and understanding has been fulfilled. The practitioner is now beyond the influence of these forces. In short, once the goal of self realization is achieved, the natural forces stop their cycle of change as their purpose has been completed, leading the individual to a state beyond worldly influences.
क्षणप्रतियोगी परिणामापरान्तनिर्ग्राह्य क्रमः.
This sutra explains that every moment is a part of the sequence of changes, and each moment leads to a transformation. These changes can be understood only at the end of the process, when the final transformation reveals the entire sequence. In other words, the flow of time and transformation becomes clear when one reaches the end of the journey of realization. In short, every moment of change is part of a larger sequence, and the complete understanding of this sequence comes only at the final stage of transformation or realization.
पुरुषार्थशून्यानां गुणानां प्रतिप्रसवः कैवल्यं स्वरूपप्रतिष्ठा वा चितिशक्तेरिति.
This sutra describes the final stage of liberation. When the qualities of nature no longer serve any purpose for the soul, they return to their original state. This marks the ultimate liberation, where the self is fully established in its true essence, pure consciousness. The individual is completely free from the influence of the material world. In short, when the natural qualities stop affecting the self, they return to their original state, leading to ultimate freedom, where the self exists as pure consciousness, free from worldly influences. Thank you.